Learn English through story. The Last Letter. In a quiet town nestled in the hills, there lived an elderly woman named Margaret. Known for her wisdom and kindness, she spent her days tending to her garden and volunteering at the local library. Margaret had a warm smile and an open heart, always willing to lend an ear to anyone in need. Despite her amiable nature, Margaret carried a heavy secret that weighed on her soul. Many years earlier, when she was in her 30s, Margaret had fallen deeply in love with a man named Thomas. Their love was passionate and intense, full of dreams and laughter. They spoke of a future together, envisioning a life filled with joy and companionship. However, tragedy struck when Thomas was drafted into the military. Margaret promised to wait for him, believing their love could withstand any distance. Months turned into years, and Margaret's letters to Thomas became her lifeline. She poured her heart into each letter, sharing her life's updates, dreams, and hopes for their future. But as time passed, Thomas's responses grew less frequent. Each reply came with an apology for the delays and an assurance of his love. Then, one fateful day, Margaret received a letter that shattered her world. It was from Thomas's commanding officer, informing her that he had been killed in action. Heartbroken and devastated, Margaret felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath her. She had lost the love of her life, and the dreams they had shared were now nothing but dust. In her grief, Margaret sealed her heart away, vowing never to love again. She turned her pain into a purpose, dedicating herself to helping others and living a life that honored Thomas's memory. She often visited the park where they used to spend their afternoons, reminiscing about their time together, but she never allowed herself to forget the pain that love had brought. Years passed, and the town changed around her. Children grew up, people moved away, and new faces came to replace the old. Margaret continued her quiet existence, surrounding herself with the love of friends and community. Yet, the memory of Thomas lingered like a ghost, always present but never acknowledged. One day, as Margaret was sorting through some old boxes in her attic, she stumbled upon a dusty chest filled with mementos from her past. Among the items was a stack of letters, the last letters Thomas had written to her before his deployment. She hadn't opened them in years, believing it would only bring back the heartache. But this time felt different. There was a sense of urgency that compelled her to read them. As she carefully unfolded each letter, tears streamed down her face. Thomas spoke of his love for her, his hopes for their future, and his belief that they would be together again. In one letter, he wrote, "No matter what happens, always remember that my heart is with you. You are my light, and I will find my way back to you." Reading those words, Margaret felt a surge of emotions, a mix of love, sorrow, and a longing for what could have been. She realized that while Thomas was gone, the love they had shared was still alive within her. The letters became a bridge to a time when she was filled with hope and joy, and she longed to reclaim that part of herself. As the sun set outside, casting a golden hue over her home, Margaret made a decision. She would write a letter to Thomas, something she had never done since his passing. It would be a letter of closure, a farewell, and a way to release the burdens she had carried for so long. She poured her heart onto the pages, expressing her love, her pain, and her gratitude for the time they had together. "Dear Thomas," she began, her hand trembling as she wrote, "I want you to know that you have always been a part of my life. Even after all these years, your memory has been my companion. I wish things had turned out differently, but I have come to realize that love is not bound by time or space. I will carry your love with me always, but it is time for me to let go. Thank you for showing me what it means to love deeply." After sealing the letter, Margaret took a deep breath. It felt as if a weight had lifted from her shoulders. She placed the letter in the chest alongside the others and closed it, knowing she had finally said goodbye. In the days that followed, Margaret felt a renewed sense of purpose. She embraced life with a vigor she had not felt in years. She started volunteering more, spending time with the elderly in her community, sharing her stories and wisdom. Margaret realized that the love she had for Thomas had transformed into a capacity for love that extended to everyone around her. One afternoon, while volunteering at the library, she met a man named Robert. He was charming, kind, and shared her love for books. They struck up conversations that flowed effortlessly, laughter echoing between them. Margaret felt a warmth in her heart that she hadn't experienced in decades. As their friendship blossomed, she found herself contemplating the possibility of love once more. With every passing day, Margaret opened her heart a little wider, allowing the light of friendship and affection to seep in. She understood that loving again didn't mean forgetting Thomas, it meant honoring his memory by allowing herself to experience joy. She began to see love as a continuum, a thread connecting her past with her present. Months later, during a quiet evening stroll in the park where she and Thomas had spent so many happy hours, Margaret felt a sense of peace enveloping her. She knew she would always carry Thomas in her heart, but she also recognized that it was okay to embrace the future. As she sat on a bench, watching the sun dip below the horizon, she felt a gentle breeze on her face. In that moment, Margaret understood that love, in all its forms, was a beautiful gift, a one that was meant to be shared. She smiled, knowing that she was finally ready to write a new chapter in her life, one filled with love, laughter, and the courage to embrace the future. And so, in a small town nestled in the hills, Margaret discovered that love is not merely a memory to be cherished, it is a living, breathing force that continues to grow, transforming and expanding even in the face of loss. In choosing to love again, she found that the heart is not a fragile thing but a resilient vessel capable of holding both joy and sorrow. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.